Jeremiah 29:11. It reads, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans for welfare and not for evil. Plans for a future and a hope." That word welfare in Jeremiah 29:11 is shalom in Hebrew, and it's about goodness. It's about peace. It's about completeness. We have a God who promises to give us shalom. And I think sometimes it's hard to understand that or to feel that it's true when we live in a world where shalom doesn't seem to exist in too many places out there or even inside of here. And if we're all real honest, there are lots of internal struggles that we have on a daily basis, and we are constantly fighting and at war to find that shalom. It reminded me of a story once that I heard when I was in Israel from a great teacher, and he said this to us, told us the story about a rabbi. And this isn't in the Bible, but this story was about a rabbi who was rushing to the synagogue, and as he was rushing to the synagogue, he was encountered by an angel of the Lord, and the angel of the Lord said, "Do you see that rock over there, Rabbi? I want you to go and push on that rock every single day from now on for 30 minutes a day." So the rabbi, as a faithful, God-fearing person, says, "Absolutely." And he sets his little sundial alarm clock earlier, and he gets up 30 minutes earlier every day before he goes to the synagogue to worship, and he pushes on that rock with all his might, with everything he's got, because this is for God, and this is his role. God has told him to push on this rock. But pretty soon days turn into weeks, and weeks turn into 2 weeks, and 2 weeks turns into 3, and it turns into a month, and it's been 30 days, and he's been pushing on this rock, and it's not budged an inch. And after a month, the rabbi's met by this strange fellow. And he's really the evil one disguised as a person, and the strange fellow comes up to him and he says, "Rabbi, why do you push on this rock? The rock's not moving." And the rabbi thinks to himself, and he agrees, "You're right, the rock's not moving. Hasn't moved in 30 days. Why am I pushing on this rock?" And before he knows it, the evil one has planted that seed of doubt and frustration in the heart of the rabbi. And the rabbi, the next day, refuses to get up early. And he begins taking a different route to the synagogue. He can't even walk past the rock that he was pushing on anymore, for feelings of failure have overtaken him. But then on this new route, a few days later, the angel of the Lord returns and he encounters the rabbi and he says, "Rabbi, why aren't you pushing on the rock?" And the rabbi is halted in his tracks. And he says, "Well, I just wasn't, the rock wasn't moving." And before he can finish the sentence, the angel of the Lord interrupts him and says, "Rabbi, the rock was never supposed to move." The rabbi was shocked. And the angel of the Lord continued, "You were never meant to move the rock. Rather, you were pushing on the rock so that you could get stronger, because there is water for the widows that you need to carry, and there's grain for those who don't have it that you need to carry the sacks on your back, and there are orphans in this village that you need to be carrying because your arms needed to get stronger and you needed to have a bigger heart." Sometimes I think the things God calls us to feel like that rock. We're pushing on it and we think it's supposed to do one thing, but it's not happening. And in reality, in the grand scheme of life, God has a plan, and that plan is for a future and for a hope, and it involves shalom and goodness in our life and our relationships. And sometimes we're pushing against these rocks, and these rocks aren't moving, but they were never meant to move. Instead, God is trying to strengthen us on the inside as leaders and people. He's trying to get us ready for that future and that hope. He's trying to improve the shalom in our own hearts and lives. And sometimes it's challenging and difficult. So my friends, wherever you're at in ministry in this season, push on the rock that God's called you to push on. Don't give up. Don't be tempted to quit. And know this, that our God has a plan to prosper you, a plan for welfare, a plan of a future, and a plan of a hope.